Okay, so what is Grey Goo? At its core, Grey Goo is a real-time strategy game in the spirit of Command and Conquer. So it's done by Petroglyph, and some of the devs from Petroglyph, some of the founders of Petroglyph actually, were developers for Westwood back in the day. The Westwood, for people who might not know, is the game studio that gave us Command and Conquer, Red Alert, Command and Conquer Generals, amongst other games, the Dune series. Westwood, in fact, is credited as being one of the founders of the genre itself. And some of the people at Westwood, like Joe Bostic and Mike Legg, two of the higher-ups in the company, worked for Westwood back then. So this game was made by some of the people who built the RTS genre, and that really shows in its mechanics. We're almost done loading here, and I can show you, talk you through some of the design decisions that were made in this game. Okay, let's start. Okay, so like most RTSs, you're gathering resources, in this case a single resource called Catalyst, which is mined via this refinery extractor system. So you plant your refinery, you plant your extractor, and then it's pretty much automated from there. Over a couple seconds, you'll see this happen.
Refinery complete.
Over a couple seconds, it will spawn harvesters that'll harvest the resource at a rate determined when you place the extractor. So kind of a unique mechanic of this game is the resource Catalyst doesn't just form in pools, it forms also in rivers. You see this in the middle of the map here, this Y-shaped
What can I do for you?
map feature is actually a river of Catalyst.
Unit in production.
Oops.
Constructing.
Changing
Just show you what it
location.
looks like on the map. And I've toggled the resource display to on so you can see the resource pools. And depending on where in the
Sites
resource
ready.
pool, you actually see there's two stages here. There's a higher concentration and a lower concentration. Depending on where in the pool
Unit
you place
ready.
your
Target acquired.
Operational.
extractor, you'll get a different rate. And the game will automatically produce harvesters until you
Factory
achieve
complete.
that rate.
Beginning construction.
So see here it's 10 and here it's 8 per second.
Operation halted.
You'll also notice, this is a good example, you'll also notice that unlike in StarCraft, you can pay for things before you can afford them. And that allows the player to stall out their economy like I've done here to demonstrate that
Awaiting
mechanic for you.
Group in
So
motion.
despite the fact there's only
Right away.
one resource, you actually do have to pay attention to your income and your expenditures. In fact, it's very important to
Unit ready.
pay attention to your income versus your
Unit
expenditures.
in production.
Much like in
Operation halted.
StarCraft, you have a couple
Insufficient
terrain
funds.
types. You've got the basic flat terrain, you've got water, impassable rocks that you see up here.
Combat system.
There's
restored.
also brush, which you can see down here, these trees. I'll show you how that
Tango
works.
Delta reporting. Target acquired.
The combat system
Unit in
is a little
production.
basic.
Armistice override in place.
What is he doing?
Revolver ready.
The AI is a little
Location
dumb.
received. Right
They
away.
pitched it as being smart, but I don't feel like it's particularly intelligent.
Trident online.
Understood.
In transit.
I'm gonna kill this unit
Operation
to see what they're
halted.
doing.
Insufficient funds.
Forming there now.
So the faction I'm playing is the humans. They have this
Cylinders are charged.
mechanic where they essentially have one single
Unit under
base,
attack.
and they lay out these conduits.
Unit ready. Unit in production.
Everything they build is
Beginning construction.
attached to a conduit.
Extractor complete.
Humans also are unable to repair their units out of the box, so this fellow here, this Trident,
Coordinates
who is
received.
injured, is always going to be injured
Operation
unless I
halted.
research
Insufficient funds.
a tech upgrade that allows them to repair themselves.
Conduit
Tridents
cross
can-
complete.
Begin the benefit of that upgrade.
Conduit complete. Unit
Um, So you see that actually a couple times now.
Conduit cross complete.
I have
Conduit
stalled out my
complete.
economy.
Beginning
AI
construction.
is just not smart.
Plotting course.
Let's see.
Have
The
fun
AI
initiated.
is playing the
Unit
beta,
ready.
which are a modular faction. I rarely see people or the computer do
Unit
this,
ready.
but the
Unit
beta can
in
actually build
production.
anywhere on the map. They build a hub within vision of one of their units, and then to that hub they attach.
Unit under
Okay,
attack.
so they're going high tech,
Unit
which
destroyed.
is actually a pretty good response to what I'm
Anti-heavy
doing.
sentinel complete. Constructing.
So now
Beginning
both humans
construction.
and beta have
Conduit
this
cross
mechanic.
Complete.
The-
Unit ready. Unit in
go
production.
here.
Beginning construction. Conduit cross complete.
Awaiting instruction. Group in motion.
Okay, so they're
Providing
being pretty
support.
aggressive.
Location received.
I'm just gonna
Understood.
go back. Do a second
Unit ready.
turret.
Beginning construction.
Forming there now. Support ready.
Factory complete.
Group in
So
motion.
this is actually
Unit under
kind
attack.
of heartening.
Changing location. In motion. Coordinating. Right away.
So this is a Predator. It's a tank unit.
Unit
This is
destroyed.
the Hailstorm. It is obviously an artillery.
Anti-heavy sentinel complete.
It's not using these units
Unit
particularly well, but at
under
least it's
attack.
producing them.
Unit
Okay, I'm
destroyed.
going to build another extractor.
Beginning construction.
So the humans are
Location
confined
received.
essentially to wherever on the map
Understood.
they can. Okay, so this is so you see a third tier here. This is a high density resource pool.
Reporting.
So this will let me
Forming
get
there
up
now.
to
Assist.
Refinery
3.
complete. Unit in production.
13. I'm sorry, 13 resources per second. See in the center
Beginning
there.
construction.
But really, it's 8, 10, or 13 are the levels. And
Unit
okay,
ready.
and to build air units, you first
Unit
have
in
to build
production.
these little air
Unit
pads.
ready. Extractor complete.
So I'm going
Group
air,
in
and he
motion.
appears to be going
Providing support.
heavy
Override.
ground. We'll see a little more in a second once I can
Understood.
get some air scouts.
Insufficient funds.
Revolver online.
So this is
Air pad
fairly
complete.
passive at this point.
Air pad
Okay,
complete.
so this is their highest tier
Unit
unit,
under
the
attack.
Avalanche. It's a high,
Unit destroyed.
not high DPS, but high damage
Unit
per
ready.
shot siege unit. It's intended for
Production.
killing structures. You can see that it
Factory
basically kills
complete.
1 unit per shot.
Beginning construction.
EQ.
Beginning construction.
So far I've just been using the
Beginning construction.
light factories because they're considerably cheaper than a
Unit
heavy
ready.
factory. There we go.
Beginning
See
construction.
what they're up to.
Location received.
Conduit cross complete. Conduit complete.
Revolver ready.
Let's see. Yeah,
Unit
let's see
under
what they're doing.
attack.
Okay, so you see they haven't built much.
Unit ready.
Tank attachment, factory, artillery. So they're
Air
actually
attachment complete.
pretty vulnerable at this point. They're only
Tank
starting
attachment complete.
now to get their economy sped up. So I can take
Understood.
advantage of this. I can actually probably end this game pretty quick. I'm going to build a bunch of scimitars, which
Unit
are
in
anti-air
production.
bombers, and then I'm going to build a bunch of gladius, which
Silo
are a couple
complete.
gladius, which are tanks, and then I'm going to pump out a bunch
Unit
of
in
tridents or
production.
revolvers. So how the units work. Let's pull you aside.
Trident ready.
The trident
Proceeding there now.
is
Unit
more of
under
a
attack.
damage soak, while the
System critical.
Unit
revolver
destroyed.
is more of a
Resource cap reached.
damage
Build
dealer.
more silos.
So the revolver deals 18 damage, and it fires rate of fire of 1.5
Unit ready.
per second,
Unit
or
in
every
production.
1.5 seconds. I'm sorry. And this is a pretty clear 8
Cylinders are
DPS.
charged.
Where to? Sure thing.
I've built
Oh,
way too
yeah.
many scouts.
Eyes
Actually,
on.
let me just.
Got it.
This
Going.
is a real player. He'd.
Unit ready.
Okay, so you see,
Unit
here's
in
actually
production.
something that's
Resource
important
cap
to
reached. Build more silos.
Keep in mind, unlike in
Beginning
StarCraft, there's
construction.
actually a hard cap on the number of resources you can
Unit
have at any
ready.
given time. So you have to build additional silos
Beginning construction.
to enable yourself to have
Conduit cross complete.
to be able to hold on to more
Refinery
resources, which in the case,
complete. Beginning construction.
in this case,
Conduit cross complete.
means I've
Conduit
effectively been
complete.
wasting resources
Unit
because I've not
ready.
been paying attention.
Unit in
So what I'm
production.
doing here is I'm building an air pad and then I'm attaching a
Extractor
large factory to
complete.
it. The reason I'm doing
Beginning
this,
construction.
humans have a couple of modules. Let's show you. Tanks, artillery, air, and
Unit
stealth.
ready.
Those are essentially the unit
Unit in
categories.
production.
Scimitar online.
It's just
Unit ready.
we have absolutely no
Taking
anti-air,
the
so
lead.
I'm just gonna
Information.
take advantage of
Airship
that.
heads en route.
So you see that
Scimitar
once
ready.
air
Flying
units
out.
have dropped their payload, they have to
Authenticated.
return to these air pads to
Unit ready.
restock their ammo.
Unit in
That's a
production.
classic Command and Conquer
Air
mechanic.
attachment complete.
1 unit per
Beginning
air
construction.
attachment. They'll continue to make passes
Conduit cross complete.
until their
Combat routines
target is
restored.
dead.
Unit ready.
So theoretically, at least they'll go
Unit
back.
in production.
Yeah, this is just this
Yeah,
isn't,
there.
isn't even going to be fair.
Air pad complete.
Uh,
Unit ready.
So humans have a couple of neat mechanics. They have walls. The humans in the beta can put down walls, but the
Beginning
human walls
construction.
have the
Beginning
unique feature that they
construction.
can be passed and fired through by human units, but
Spinning
not
up.
Send traffic. Taking point. Sweeping harvest is plentiful.
by
Operational.
enemy units.
Forming
So
there
I
now.
could actually,
Group
and I
in
will do
motion.
this,
Support
I could
ready.
actually
Unit ready.
place a wall here
Resource cap reached.
and
Build
use this
more
as kind of a
silos.
beachhead.
Beginning construction.
Resource cap reached again.
Wall complete. Large factory complete.
Okay, and I'm going to give you
Unit in
tank
production.
attachment. And based on what modules you have different upgrades. So the mine drop would turn the scimitar into
Blow
more of
through.
a
Altering flight.
anti-infantry
Resource
unit. Right now it's an
cap reached.
anti-structure unit.
Build more
Um,
silos.
Since I have
Waiting instruction.
Wall complete. Beginning
so
construction.
doing this would effectively wall them into their base.
Gladius ready.
You see how long it takes human units to cross the map,
Waiting for flight.
and that's intentional.
Touch the sky. Coming over.
Am I missing anybody?
Here. Welcome.
Tank attachment
I'm
complete.
just gonna go in.
Resource
This
cap
is, I'm
reached.
sure,
Build more
boring.
silos. Unit in production.
There is a change in status.
Unit under attack.
So
Unit
combat
destroyed.
is kind of boring en masse.
Unit ready.
Back you guys up. But
Unit
one
in
thing you can
production.
do, for instance with the Gladius, is you can fire on the move.
marked.
I've not been keeping up with my
Unit under attack. Unit destroyed.
production.
Resource cap
You
reached.
guys back out.
Build more silos.
Silo. Okay. Another cool
Unit ready. Unit in production. Beginning construction.
cool thing about this game.
Unit ready.
Um,
Unit in production.
what was I gonna say?
Unit ready.
I had something neat to say about the game, and it's completely escaped me.
On the ground. Assemble. Right away.
Camping in place. Target affirmed. Engage. Providing cover.
Coordinating movement.
Unit under
That's kind of a
attack.
waste of units, I guess.
Unit ready.
Come on.
Unit in production. Unit
Oh,
ready.
nope.
Unit
So
destroyed.
I'm going to
Wall
auto
under
repair my
attack.
units.
Beginning tank tech upgrade. Unit under attack. Beginning
It's a
economic
little
tech
humorous.
upgrade.
Okay, so
Unit ready.
I've botched this a little bit, so I'm
Unit
going
in
to.
production. Wall
Oh, no, I
under
tried
attack.
that, didn't I?
Beginning construction. Wall
There.
destroyed.
I'll give me a little bit of
Beginning construction. Wall under attack. Beginning construction. Conduit cross complete. Conduit. Wall under attack.
So that's the game kind of in a
Unit under
nutshell.
attack.
There's some nuances.
Silo complete.
Smoked. Scythe online.
Refinery complete.
Location acquired.
Taking the lead.
Done.
But those are really the
On alert. Formation moving. Assist.
Unit ready.
basics.
Extractor complete.
Ready
At
for target.
a point like this in the game,
In formation.
yeah, so they've got no resources, they've got nothing.
Complete.
One other neat human tool is the teleporter. You see that human units are kind of slow and cumbersome, and with no real force protection in the early game, since all their production is
Ready.
held up at their base, human units can be a little disadvantaged.
Taking the lead. Scimitar online.
Just get you guys.
Target painted. Authenticated. In formation.
Providing support.
Target eliminated.
So now, why do I think a game like this is worthwhile? What is there to recommend Grey Goo over StarCraft or Company of Heroes or any other RTS out there?
Unit in production.
That's a fair question. You know, you might look at this and look at StarCraft and say StarCraft has better designed units, or
Coming there now.
Resource cap reached. Build more silos. Unit in production.
All sides.
it's a faster-paced game, which I think is valid. Although just as valid, I think, is the point that perhaps a game like StarCraft is
Teleporter complete.
requires a little too much, you know, in the way of APM or
Unit in production.
what I tend to call
Unit
mechanical demands.
Resource cap reached. Build more silos.
So, you know, Petroglyph, when they built this game, they set out to
Ready to engage.
design what they call a beer and pretzels game, and I think to that end they've succeeded.
Tank tech upgrade complete. Unit ready.
It's,
Unit in production.
you know, this is a comfortable game. It's a fun game. This doesn't have a lot of fiddly micromanagement
Resource
of
cap reached. Build more silos.
you know, worker supply trees or
Unit ready.
you know, building a new base to support each expansion. This is it's streamlined. I hesitate to call it simpler, although it assuredly is. I just feel like simple has a more negative connotation. Okay, I'm gonna do one or two ladder matches. Strive to say something meaningful during them. Well, maybe I'll even ladder as the goo, which is a little more interesting. But I actually see that it's really loading. Let me just check my connection real quick. I'm connected. It's, multiplayer. Oh, that's why. Defaulted to LAN matches for some reason. Okay. The only reason I hesitate to play is the goo, or there tend to be a lot of goo versus goo mirrors, which it's not a matchup I like. Go human. I've not been doing the best as human right now, but why the heck not? So for anyone who may just be coming back into this, I'm just going to repeat some of the basics. My name's Wayward, and this is Grey Goo. I'm queuing for a multiplayer match. The active player base is fairly small at this point. Oh, that was a quick matchup, though. So what Petroglyph have designed here, as I was rambling on before, is a streamlined RTS experience. So human versus beta. Awesome. My favorite matchup, actually. It's very much like a Protoss versus Terran. Although honestly, the beta end up playing more like the Zerg, in my opinion. They tend to deal in swarm tactics, masses of units.
Beginning construction.